Here's a tutorial on the cheeseburger stoichiometry. So if we have 6 lettuce leaves and 24 of these and 3 of those and 1 of those and 12 makes 12, then we obviously get this because this is according to number of them, not according to grams. That wouldn't really make any sense. That's a 12. So I am not making this harder than it needs to be. I think some kids think that because I won't just go from grams to grams. And that's because it doesn't make any sense. It does not make sense that if you have 3 grams of tomato, you can make only 12 grams of cheeseburger. Or even worse, if you have 12 grams of patty, how much will the cheeseburger weigh? Will it also weigh 12 grams? Of course not, because there's all this other stuff in it. So this does not work with grams. And I understand that a lot of recipes, real recipes, are written with ounces and grams and so forth. But we're going to write these a lot more like chemical equations. So this does not mean grams of them. It means the number of them. So I'm going to do a few examples. And I also made, remember, this little map, so to speak. I said that if you want to go from grams of version A, like chemical A, or in this case, ingredient or product A, then you can go to dozens of type A, version A, and then dozens of type B, and then grams of type B. So you might want to write that out for yourself in the quiz if you think that's helpful. And this is the grams per 1 dozen for each of these. So if we start off with dozens, then we're already being spotted a head start and we're already here. And then if we're only going to how many, then if I answer in dozens, that is how many. And let's just keep it in dozens. Let's not multiply it out to the regular number. And I'll show what I mean. Let's just keep it in dozens, because in chemicals, we would keep it in groups of a mole. So with 2 dozen tomatoes, let's write down what we've got. 2 dozen tomatoes. And I'm already right here. I need to go to dozens of burgers, cheeseburgers. So what's the relationship between tomatoes and cheeseburgers? Not in grams, but just in how many. If you put in 3 tomatoes, you get out 12 cheeseburgers. Now that's an increase. You get more cheeseburgers, right? Because of course you slice up the tomato. You don't put the whole tomato in there. So should our number go up or down? If we put in 3, we get out 12. Well, that number should go up. So just to do this wrong here, then this would be wrong. 3 over 12 would make the number go down, wouldn't it? Also, I can tell this is wrong because then the cheeseburgers would be down here and the tomato would be up here, and then the tomatoes don't cancel out because any normal number like this is over 1. And then I don't have the tomato on the opposite sides of the fraction. They're on the same side. And this would be cuckoo pants, and you would get tomatoes squared per cheeseburger, whatever the heck that's supposed to be. That's nuts. So you can tell that that's wrong because the numbers are going the wrong way and because the units aren't going to cancel out correctly. So what do I want to get rid of? It's not even the dozen, is it? How many can be dozen? I want to get rid of the tomatoes. So let's put the tomatoes on the bottom because anything over itself cancels out to 1. And the cheeseburgers on top, and that won't cancel out because that should be my answer. So that's good that it doesn't cancel out. And what will my answer be? And what will the units be? Even before the numbers, what will it be? The tomatoes canceled out, and I'll get dozen cheeseburgers, which is good because we were asked how many. How many is dozens? That's fine. So how many was it? The proportion is you'll get out 12. You get 12 out of the 3 you put in. 12 here and 3 here. And look, this number will go up when I say 2 times this number. Now, some of you are shouting, that's 4. Well, you're right. And if you really, really want and you do know what you're doing, you can write 4 over 1 or something. And I won't argue. But just to show how I knew it was 4, because it's 12 over 3. Or maybe you write this down. When you're converting from one spot to another on my little map here, you put where you're going on top when you want to cancel out a normal number like this. So, and where you're coming from on the bottom, because I was going from tomatoes to cheeseburgers. So I'm putting my destination on top and my origin on the bottom. And that lets me cancel out tomatoes. Now, the other thing that has not been said strongly enough, apparently in like 7th and 8th grade math, is we multiply by the top and divide by the bottom. So we're going to take 2 times 12 is 24. divided by 3 is 8. Now you have to keep track of the units because you can't enter the units into the calculator. So you had to know that what's left is dozen cheeseburgers, because you can't just have 8 nothings. And I do take something off if you just put 8. It has to be 8 things, 8 of the correct things, dozen cheeseburgers. Let's skip to one with grams in it. 1,000 grams of lettuce leaf could make how many grams of burger? So in this case, we're here, grams of type A, and we're going to go to dozens of type A. So what's the conversion between grams and dozens? It's 600 grams per 1 dozen. Now remember, this is over 1, so I don't want grams. See, I'm going to get rid of grams. Go to this step here. So my grams goes on the bottom. I do want dozens, so dozens goes on the top. Because any of these fractions can flip over, and they're still true. It's 600 grams for 1 dozen, or 1 dozen has 600 grams. It doesn't really matter which way you say it. 600 grams. And it for every 1 dozen. And the grams cancels out. Now I have dozen lettuce. See, I have dozen of the first type, type A. So then I want to go to dozens of the other type. Where am I headed? Burgers. So let's put cheeseburgers on top and lettuce on the bottom. And that's going to let me cancel out the lettuce because lettuce is over lettuce. And the ratio is 12 to 6. And somebody's shouting, that's 2. Yeah, I know, you're right. If you really want to put 2 over 1, you can. And now I have dozen cheeseburgers. So I landed at dozens of type B, my target type here. And now I want to go to grams of type B. And we know it's 4,086 grams per dozen. So which goes on the top? Well, what do we want to cancel out? Do I want to cancel out cheeseburgers? No. So that's not going to be in there anyway. I want to cancel out dozens. I want to cancel out dozens and get me grams. And it's 4,086 grams per 1 dozen. That lets me cancel out the dozens. And then I multiply and I will get some number, and it will be grams of cheeseburger, grams of cheeseburger. And so then I guess we'll actually do it because I don't remember the answer. So how would we do it? We take the number that you're starting with and multiply by the top and divide by the bottom. So 1,000 divided by 600 times 12 divided by 6. And somebody says, you can just multiply by 2. I know, you can do that too if you want. Times 4,086. And we can skip all the ones in here, right? Because they don't matter. 13,620 grams of cheeseburger. How about number 5? Because we can go backward across the arrow too. Just put down what you, I mean number 10. 5,000 grams of cheeseburger would be how many grams of onion. We can go backward, and in fact, in recipes, people often say, I don't know what I have. That's not my point. I want to talk about what I need to make, and then I'll figure out what I need to buy. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to say, if I know this is my target, 5,000 grams of cheeseburger, then I can jump backward to onion here, and I can figure out the onions I will need. So we're at grams of cheeseburger, and I want to go along this map. So I don't want grams, I want dozens. So grams cancels out if I put it on the bottom. 1 dozen. And remember, it's 4,086 grams. And that will be some number. And now I have dozen cheeseburgers. So that was step 1. And I want onions. Well, it's 1 onion per 12 cheeseburgers. And where you're going is on top. What you're canceling out is on the bottom. It's 1 onion per 12 cheeseburgers. And that lets me cancel out the cheeseburgers. And for our last move, we will get grams of onion. And it's 684 grams per dozen. And what I have is dozen. I don't want dozen. I want dozens to leave. I want grams to appear in my answer. And it was 2,700 grams per dozen. And this lets me cancel out the dozens. So I will get some number, and what will the unit be? Grams of onion. grams of onion. And then we will take 5,000 and multiply by the top and divide by the bottom. What is that? 275. We'll just call that 275. That's good enough. And as I was asked today during a tutoring session, are these all the same? They pretty much are. So if you review those, I think you should get the point. Remember, you can hit pause anywhere. And I posted some of these with the solutions already. And if you need a tutoring time, you should email me even uh, in the first week of vacation. Okay.